Groundbreaking research found in two new studies could be a game changer for those suffering from high cholesterol.
The two new approaches work in different ways, but with the same mission. They go after genes responsible for raising cholesterol. Here to talk more about the new research is our 9 News wellness expert, Dr. Coley. Thanks for coming in.
First, we got to figure out which camera we're looking at here, right? I see you over here, like, where am I at?
We're the same way, though.
What is so novel and unique about this approach?
You know, at the meeting that was just this weekend, the American Heart Association meeting, there was standing room only. They were not letting people into the room because this trial took everybody by surprise. And the reason for this was because the way we normally design medicines is we go after the protein. So we take a pill every single day that turns off the protein on a daily fashion. This approach is actually going one step or two steps upstream, going after the DNA that makes the protein. So it's a gene editing approach where they give you a single injection, it turns off the gene so that you never make that protein, and presumably this lasts kind of for the rest of your life, and it gets that cholesterol down faster, it gets it down earlier, and it keeps it down for longer so that you're not starting to treat cholesterol in people in their 50s and 60s once it's already done damage, but maybe even targeting people in their teens or 20s.
Getting way ahead of the problem there, yeah.
I mean, this is a big deal. A lot of people have high cholesterol. Do we know the side effects of this yet?
You know, that's a big question, and that's where the medical community is a little bit divided. I'm very excited about the technology, but this is the first time we're doing something like this in humans. Now, we have a little bit of a head start from sickle cell anemia and thalassemia, where we've already been doing gene editing in patients, and it's shown to be reasonably successful. But when it comes to cholesterol, where we have other good approaches, we want to make sure that it's really, really safe before we proceed giving it on a population level. So currently the tests that they did were in patients that have a genetic disorder that gives them extremely high cholesterol and very early heart disease, so that these are patients who absolutely need this. It seemed reasonably safe, but I'll say it was a short follow-up. It was only a few patients, like 10 patients. And a couple of patients did have cardiac problems. One had a heart attack and one had a cardiac arrest. And we don't know if that was from the medicine or from their underlying heart disease, but certainly before it would get to any of us, we would need a lot more data.
Obviously, a lot is happening within our bodies. How do they even begin to figure out which gene they're going to target there?
This is what's so great about this story. It's called the bench to bedside story, because we had patients that were born with kind of natural problems with this gene, that this gene never turned on in those patients, and they never got heart disease because their cholesterol levels were so low. And then the opposite was true as well. This was in the early 2000s. We found patients who the gene was overactive. It was being a little bit too expressive, and they got early heart disease in their 30s and 40s. So we said there must be something with this gene, and that's how we started designing inhibitors of the gene, which worked like blockbuster drugs, and we now give them as injections for cholesterol. And then now we've taken it a step further, started turning off this gene with this gene editing approach.
I think a lot of people are thinking, oh my gosh, I could potentially not have to take a pill every single day to manage my cholesterol. How close is this to actually happening for people?
That's really the hope, is that we start doing it early in life, and we're still years away because this is the first in human trials. This is a sort of proof of concept. It's the first time we're doing gene editing. So, what are all the other things this gene could be doing? What does it mean to turn it off early? These are all questions we have to answer. And then by editing the gene and lowering the cholesterol, are we actually reducing heart attacks and strokes? We actually have to prove that. We think we will, because we know that this cholesterol is really toxic to the arteries, but these are all things we have to prove, which will take at least 5 to 10 years before we can start editing our own genes.
And really quick, shameless plug, because you are launching a YouTube channel where you're going to be answering people's questions. Where can people find that?
So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because really there's a whole host of medical information, the latest news topics, the latest scientific breakthroughs, and anything else that you might want to talk about, please comment. I would love to answer those questions.
And if you need to watch the information back here, because it's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes, learning for the first time, you can go there to watch it again.
Dr. Coley, thanks for coming in.